All right, let's jump right in. We're continuing our exploration of Alan R. Scott's incredible book, and today we are tackling a huge question from Chapter 6. Why is it that sometimes we feel so completely stuck? You know, you have the best intentions, you're trying to move forward, but it feels like you're hitting a wall. Well, today we're going to get to the bottom of what's really going on. Man, this quote from the book just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling. You know that clarity, that lighthouse is out there somewhere, but you're just stuck in the middle of this thick, heavy storm, and finding your way feels, well, pretty much impossible. And that really is the big question, isn't it? You sit down to meditate, hoping for a little peace, and instead, your mind is just pure chaos. Or you decide you're going to be more patient, and 5 minutes later, you snap. Why does this keep happening, even when you know the correct path you want to follow? The book says there's a very specific reason why that path feels so blocked. According to the book, this feeling of being stuck isn't just you failing or not trying hard enough. Not at all. It's a real phenomenon. Think of it as a kind of internal pollution that literally suffocates our good intentions and keeps us from making any real progress. And this is a really important distinction the book makes. What we're dealing with here isn't a simple fog, something that just blurs things a little. No, it's smog. It's thick, it's heavy, and frankly, it's toxic. It's actively poisoning the mind.
So this mental smog, it actually has a name, it has a diagnosis, and understanding it is the key to seeing why our meditations can sometimes go wrong, poisoning our minds with ego and pride instead of bringing us peace. Let's break down what these toxins really are.
The book calls them melatonin. The best way to think about them is as mental stains, or pollutants. They are the direct cause of that smog we feel inside. They're what clouds our thinking, blocks our natural clarity, and keeps us trapped in those same old frustrating loops of reacting, regretting, and then reacting all over again.
And you might be surprised by what counts as a toxin. We're not just talking about the big ones, like greed and anger. The book shows it's the everyday stuff too. That constant low-level irritability, the resentment that you just can't shake, that chronic worry. And get this, even things like endless scrolling on your phone or constant complaining are forms of melatonin that are polluting your system.
So the big question is, how do these things even get in? How do they get such a powerful grip on us? Well, the book points to a surprisingly simple gateway, one that we probably open 100 times a day without even noticing.
It all boils down to two simple things, liking and disliking. Think about it. When we like something, there's a pull towards it, right? That pull opens a tiny crack for greed and craving to seep in. And when we dislike something, we push it away. That push opens the door for aversion and malice. These small, seemingly harmless preferences are the entry points for the toxins.
And this is the real kicker. Every single time we lean into that strong liking or disliking, we're actually feeding what the book calls our bad nature. We're quietly, unknowingly charging its battery, giving it more and more power to control our state of mind.
Okay, but here's the good news. There is an antidote, and it's not about declaring war on your own mind. The book introduces a practice that clears the smog, not through force, but by letting the mind heal itself. This is the first and maybe the most important shift in thinking. The solution isn't to fight, to struggle, or to try and suppress your thoughts. Honestly, that just adds more tension, which creates even more smog. Instead of fighting, you just open a window. You simply create the right conditions for fresh air to come in. You allow something purer and clear into your mind, and that purity starts to naturally push out the pollution.
And this practice has a name, Gaam-Node. It literally translates to setting the condition to know. It's not about thinking or analyzing. It's a gentle but very deliberate act of placing your awareness on one single thing, maybe your breath, and just knowing it's there. Simply knowing.
So here's how it works, step by step. First, you set the condition. You intentionally put your awareness on an anchor, like the feeling of your breath. As you hold it there, a clear and steady knowing starts to arise. This knowing is like a beam of light that just cuts right through the smog. When that happens, a pure energy, which the book calls punya, can finally flow into the mind. And here's the magic. That pure energy naturally begins to dissolve the toxins. No fight, no struggle. This is why setting the condition is so crucial, not just in meditation, but in daily life. It's the one reliable method we can hold steady to in order to clear our own path.
So, what does it actually feel like when this process starts to work? What happens when that internal smog finally starts to lift? Well, the book describes a really profound shift in how we experience pretty much everything.
You literally start to feel lighter. A sense of peace just shows up more and more often. Obstacles that felt completely overwhelming now seem manageable. And what's really amazing is that as your inner world clears up, your outer world starts to change too. The right kind of help and the right people just seem to find their way to you. Your own natural goodness just starts to overflow.
This quote really sums it all up, doesn't it? We can't move forward because these mental toxins, this melatonin, are holding us back. Progress is impossible until we allow them to be released. And Gaam-Node Rue is the key to that release. In our next explainer, we'll get into how this process actually creates new blueprints for our mind to follow.
And so that brings us to the most important question of all. The power to set the condition in your mind is always, always available to you, in this very moment. You get to choose your anchor. You get to decide where you place your awareness. So what will you choose to know?